We are tracking the DOJ upheaval, a slew of prosecutors resigning. One federal prosecutor has also signed now a motion to go ahead and request the dismissal of those corruption charges against the New York mayor. That has been the focal point of this. It took longer because of the Trump DOJ's inability to get things done. In this case, things that their own recently departed aides say are wrong, improper, potentially even unconstitutional. Ed Sullivan is the trial lawyer with the DOJ Public Integrity Unit, who is close to retirement and helped this go forward under serious pressure from Trump officials. And so this is a story that matters. As I've said this week, it's one of the stories that the Trump White House is not promoting. And it's gotten far more difficult, messier, took a much longer time, as I mentioned, than they intended. Now, the Trump DOJ official here, Emil Bouvet, reportedly gathered the lawyers in an unusual morning meeting with a lot of pressure. Now, again, remember, this is not how the DOJ normally works. It's not even how most of the federal government works, although surely sometimes there are big, tough conversations. But we're talking about something far more unusual with regard to carrot and stick pressure, according to this reporting, which also matches the very whistleblowing we got from these recently departed officials, including the promise of some sort of reward for those who would sign and file this controversial motion.
He gave them an hour deadline to decide who was going to be the person to put themselves on the chopping block.
We'll all get fired, but who's going to replace us? They're going to hire us with loyalists to make sure this never happens again.
The judge, though, has to agree to drop this case officially.
It's very inappropriate for the department to engage in that kind of overt political bargaining.
Danielle Sassoon, she's a profile in courage.
Rather than having a public integrity section with 22 lawyers, we will now have a public lack of integrity section.
That is just some of the concern and the reaction we've seen. You can see the story is a big one across all media. It's not like even Fox News, which has been more friendly to the administration, is ignoring it. You can't ignore this many resignations. What one former SDNY chief said on this program this week looked like almost a Nixonian Saturday Night Massacre. Now, the lead prosecutor on the Adams case resigned in protest, stating, if no one will tell the president that what they were trying to do is basically wrong, then, quote, you'll eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion. No system of ordered liberty can allow the government to use the carrot of dismissing charges or the stick for a separate political agenda, the letter states. And he goes on to invoke what could be Donald Trump's point of view, call this a sort of more ignorant or benign, friendly explanation that even if Trump wants to treat this like a transaction, that is wrong. He says, I can even understand how Trump's background in business and politics might enable seeing this as a good, if distasteful, deal. But any assistant U.S. attorney would know that's wrong. That is just one of the warnings from one of the several now resigned prosecutors, 6 in all. And this is all coming out of the SDNY, where Trump has had so much of a focus. The mayor was accused of offering essentially a bribery deal to Trump, that he gets preferential treatment, which he otherwise wouldn't get, to dismiss this case, and then the mayor would help Trump politically on immigration in New York. That is completely out of bounds. And as we've mentioned, although none of this should be very political, many of the people objecting are sympathetic to Republican and Donald Trump policies. That's part of how they may have stayed in the administration even for 3 weeks, although some of them were career level. I just quoted you from one who said he gets that Trump has a business view, but this is wrong, and it's the job of the lawyers who swear these oaths to draw those lines. Here's our colleague Rachel Maddow described it.
So we're putting these charges on ice for now, so Eric Adams can run his re-election campaign without technically being under indictment, and then we'll see how we feel. And maybe we'll bring the charges back based on consideration of all the relevant factors. Talk about having leverage over somebody, right? We're taking the charges away for now, but we could put them back, depending on all relevant factors. It prompted this headline from Josh Marshall at his news site, TPM, quote, Donald Trump is now the mayor of New York.
One reason this is also obvious is that it is meant to be obvious. These are the opening efforts in shock and awe to show they're in charge. It doesn't mean it's working perfectly, it's quite a cost to pay for the DOJ to lose 6 top people and have this kind of open revolt, to have reports about meetings where people are being threatened or rewarded for doing things that basically they can't find DOJ lawyers to do, even those who clerked for Scalia and are sensitive to Trump, even those who would say to you if you ran into him at a dinner party, look, he's a business guy, this is why he's thinking that, right? That's starting from a place of empathy with Donald Trump's history and perspective, but still coming back to the point that lawyers don't do this. Now, we should note that the Adams officials have denied this type of deal, although there were notes from credible parties taken and then apparently seized by the DOJ, multiple lawyers describing this who seem credible otherwise. Donald Trump issued a denial and a false statement about this this week, as we fact-checked. Now, in a joint interview with Adams on Fox News this morning with a Trump official, Border Czar Tom Homan said this.
Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, right, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City,
right,
and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to?
The guy who's still a defendant, it takes a judge to dismiss these charges, is issuing a denial. No such deal. And the other guy, who seems like he's not worried about sticking to the official line, the Trump official, is blatantly saying, if we don't get what we want, we'll be back, as Eric Adams, the defendant and mayor of New York, laughs along. Now, that resignation I mentioned said, quote, Adams' attorneys repeatedly urged what amounted to a quid pro quo. And during the meeting, the deputy AG, as I mentioned, then admonished a member of the DOJ prosecution team who was taking notes and directed the collection of those notes at the meeting's conclusion. That matters because it is both unusual and incriminating. You don't seize your own notes from your own teammates like you did something wrong unless you're worried you did something wrong. And these are all lawyers. They all know how things work. But remember, in a proper and honest prosecution, when you have a meeting, you always take notes because you want to have very clear record evidence. They have an open case against this defendant. They have, we now know, a second indictment plan that was going to allege other obstruction by this defendant, Adams. And so you're going to be very meticulous. When the DOJ, the people in charge, start gathering up notes to, I guess, hide or destroy them, you have a problem. And remember, for all of the potential pessimism out there, there are still judges who oversee the DOJ. There are still laws on the books. And even if some of this takes longer, in time, there will be people at the DOJ all the way up to the top who may start to think about how close are they to the next election or the next one after that. Why do they want those notes hidden? It's a sign of weakness. They are worried that could get them in trouble, and it's incriminating. It's a sign they think they may have done nothing wrong. I will also state that that same DOJ official issued a lengthy letter rebutting all of this, and as mentioned earlier, the president has denied it. So there is a swirl of different statements. There's also information about the meetings between Beauvais and Adams' lawyers on the dismissal. The Times says it was upfront, extraordinary shattering of how these things work, with records revealing Beauvais talked to Adams' lawyers and wanted to, quote, refine their approach until they landed on a highly unorthodox argument. The case itself hindered his ability to address immigration. I'll tell you one thing on that before I show you more. Saying that a sitting politician, government official, is hindered in their job by a case is obvious. And that's not a Democrat or Republican thing. Here, this happens to be a Democratic mayor. You might recall Senator Menendez, a Democratic senator. You might recall other Republicans, George Santos. Having a political job doesn't ever give you carte blanche to break the law. Indeed, there's a public integrity section of the DOJ to deal with the public integrity of primarily public officials. So that statement right there is incriminating because it's just made up. One of the outgoing DOJ lawyers called it obviously pretextual, which is a fancy lawyer word for basically a lie. The problem isn't that the mayor can't do his job. The problem for the Trump folks is that they couldn't really dream up, even with all these smart lawyers, any valid reason that this case might go away, and they had some other lawyers around who built the case. Now I'll show you more. The DOJ's initial memo admitted the decision was made without assessing the strength of the evidence or the case's legal theories. In other words, this is not legal. This is not about the evidence. It's an abuse of power. And if it were a movie and you say, why is it so obvious? This isn't a mystery. We're not going to wait till later in the movie to find out the whodunit. They want it that way because, as I've told you, they are pushing at every level, testing what they can get away with, and trying to send a message to other political figures, especially in the Democratic Party, where they have less political leverage. It's not like the Republicans are doing a lot of dissent here, to try to set a new tone, to intimidate, and to see how much more they can get away with. Interestingly, while Mayor Adams seems fine with all this and faces a lot of risk if he wasn't, a heck of a lot of their own team, their own lawyers, their own former Scalia clerks are saying, no way.